Hey guys, so in today's video, I thought that this would be an interesting topic to talk about since I am a pre-med person. But the topic of this video is how to figure out if pre-med is the right track for you or the right thing for you to do. So if you see me looking down, I do have notes that I wrote for this video. So if you see me looking down, please don't mind. I have 6 different points that I want to make sure that I cover in this video to be most helpful for you guys. So number 1 with pre-med is realize that this is a very time-consuming process. And what I mean by time-consuming, it is very, very intense. It is very hardcore into the sciences. Like most of my classes are science, and I'm a neuroscience major, but before I switched my major to neuroscience from biomedical sciences, that degree, biomedical sciences, was even more science intense. It had physics and calculus and everything else involved in that. And it had multiple physics classes, multiple calculus classes. And when I switched, I still have physics and calculus, but I don't have multiple physics and calculus classes, just to give you guys an idea. It is, like I said, very hardcore with the sciences. I have multiple chemistry classes with neuroscience. I have multiple biology-based classes, but then I also have psychology. As a neuroscience major, I have psychology classes and sociology classes, whereas like a biomedical sciences major, you don't really have as many of those. Like you do have electives that you have to do, and you do have certain required like psychology classes as part of more of your general ed requirements, but for the major itself, biomedical sciences was way more science, like science intensive. It is still, like even with neuroscience, I still have to take a couple of classes as electives to meet requirements for admission into medical school. So my point number 2 would be, this is a very huge time commitment. And so what I mean by that is you have pre-med, which is undergrad. So you're getting multiple years of undergrad education so that you can get your bachelor's degree. So then you can go on to graduate, which is medical school, and that's multiple years. And then you also have a residency, internships, things like that. It is a lot of time. And so if you're looking for something that you're able to go through school and get into the career field right away, pre-med is not for you, because you have to be willing to dedicate a lot of time and effort and money, because this is also financially a lot. Because like I said, you're going to multiple years of education. You have undergrad, you have med school, you have residency, internships, all that kind of stuff. And there are doctors I know that are in residency that, you know, they're licensed. They are licensed physicians, but they're making $15 an hour. So you have to think of that. It's not always going to be that way, but like there's at least one doctor that I know personally who is making $15 an hour as a licensed physician because she's in residency. So just think about that. My next tip would be, make sure you find your why. If you're going to be going through all of this schooling and, you know, all of this hardship financially, because it is a lot, and, you know, pretty much everybody I know that has gone to medical school ends up in debt in some way, shape, or form, because it is very expensive to go through, like I said, undergrad, graduate, residency, you know, traveling back and forth, trying to figure out like for interviews to get your residency and things like that. It's a lot. Plus there's also admissions tests and board exams and things like that. There's a lot involved. So make sure that you have a good reason. Make sure that, you know why you're doing this, and you know where you get your motivation from, because having a good why is going to make it 10 times more easy to finish. It's going to be a lot easier for you to find the motivation to go through those classes that you don't necessarily like. In my case, those would be the math and this chemistry class that I'm currently struggling with. But all that aside, you have to have a good why. You have to have a good reason for putting yourself through this strenuous process. But also realize that if you're trying to find your why and you find that maybe this isn't what you want to do, It is okay to change your mind. Don't get into medicine just because someone told you that that's what you should do. If you don't feel like medicine is a good fit for you, don't put yourself through all these years of struggle, because you're not going to be happy, and there's no point in that. Another tip that I have is to meet with a pre-med advisor or someone who's like a career advisor in healthcare or medicine, because they're going to be able to help you figure out like what classes you need to take, what kind of opportunities you need to do. For example, when I say opportunities, I mean like internships during the summer while you're not in class, or going to job shadowing experiences or different like virtual shadowing stuff. These people are going to have connections, or most of them do. At my school, we have a specific career department, but then we also have pre-med advisors that work with pre-med students specifically. So they help us find like everything that we need to do. They help you figure out like what medical school you're trying to apply to, so then you can get like all the prerequisites for that program specifically. So they're going to know a lot more information about like the requirements. Let's say you want to go to Harvard Medical School, or whatever. They're going to be able to tell you what classes you need to take to get there, and what kinds of things you need to do, like what your MCAT score needs to be or whatever. What your GPA should be, what your science GPA should be, because for those of you who don't know, schools look at your cumulative GPA, but then they also look at the GPA for the science classes that you've taken. So it matters to do good in these classes. My next tip would be to shadow a provider or volunteer at a hospital. And the reason why I say this is, if you shadow a provider, you're going to be able to see, if you become a doctor, what you're going to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I'm not saying that it's always going to be the same, because medicine is something that is ever changing and you never really know what to expect from day to day. There can be emergencies, things can happen, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. A lot goes into a day in the life of a doctor. And also depending on what specialty, you could be more apt to find emergencies and, urgent stuff. So that's important. Volunteer at a hospital, because that's going to be, if you don't like working in a hospital, that could determine, what track you put yourself on. It could determine if you want to continue on the pre-med track, or maybe you want to do research. And with research, my last tip is going to be, do a research internship or experience. So my school has a platform where we can find internships. And right now I keep getting a lot of notifications about like internships, but being a freshman, I'm not going to be applying for internships this summer, only because a lot of them want you to be at least a sophomore, but most of them that I've seen want you to be a junior. So I'm not going to be doing an internship. I'm not even applying for an internship this summer, because I'm going to be taking classes this summer instead. But do a research internship or an experience, do some volunteer, because maybe you like research, but medicine, like direct patient care, might not be for you. Maybe that's not your cup of tea. So like I said, doing that internship can open your eyes to different avenues. Maybe, like I said, you enjoy the research side of things, and we always need researchers just as much as we need doctors. So those are my tips. Hopefully this helps somebody. I know that it took me a while to kind of decide if pre-med or medicine was my thing, but I definitely, like when I did the shadowing experience with the emergency room physician assistant the other night, it definitely solidified for me that I am choosing the right track for myself, because I absolutely loved it. And I wanted to do all the things that she was doing. And, that's what I want to do with my life. And so you have to find your why. You have to figure out if this is for you, because don't waste your life, because this is a big time commitment. Like I said, don't waste these years of your life if this is not what you want to do. You need to make sure that this is the right thing for you before you put all this money and time and effort and suffer, because a lot of these classes are difficult, especially with all these science classes. If you don't like science, this is not for you. So yeah. Anyways, that's my tips for today. I hope you guys found this helpful. Please let me know if you would like more videos like this, or if there's other topics you would like me to discuss on a future video, and I'd be glad to do that. And with that being said, I will talk to you guys next time.